Thank you for watching NTD Business. Top stories tonight. President Biden delivered his second State of the Union address in front of a divided Congress. What did he say on the economy and his policy? And why were Republican lawmakers pushing back on his statements? New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis responds to the State of the Union address. She says she's happy the president acknowledged the need for fossil fuels, but she hopes he backs that up with actual policy to increase energy production. The IRS advising what you should do if you got a special payment last year from your state. Should you wait to file? And Google unveiling new features today at a live event in Paris. They include Bard, its response to ChatGPT, as well as big changes to Google Lens and Google Maps. That and much more coming up on NTD Business. Great to have you with us. Don Ma here. President Biden gave his second State of the Union address last night. He focused on his vision for the economy, infrastructure, and support for Ukraine. The president urged members of Congress to unite and work with him on his path forward. While Biden drew rounds of applause from the room, the night also had its fair share of hecklers. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on Biden's speech.
Finish the job. That was one of President Biden's key messages from Tuesday's State of the Union address.
We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view.
He used the phrase at least 13 times during his 73-minute speech. The president touted low unemployment rates and job creation. Biden claimed the U.S. is in the strongest position it's been in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world. He says the choices made over the last several years have formed a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America, and that his economic plan is to invest in places and people that feel invisible and left behind during the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades.
We're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back.
But some Republicans disagreed with statements the president was making and let him know vocally.
Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. You got it.
Displeasure could be seen on House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's face as Biden suggested Republicans want to take the economy hostage unless he agrees to their economic plans.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal.
Biden took the response as a show of unanimity.
So, folks, as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be discussed. All right.
He got a standing ovation from the room on that point. Biden finished the night by saying he's never been more optimistic about the future of America and declared that the State of the Union is strong. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Joining me now to talk about President Biden's State of the Union address is Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. She's on the House Committee on Ways and Means and Conservative Climate Caucus. Now, Congresswoman, Biden yesterday said we're going to need oil for at least another decade and beyond. Now, is Biden signaling a policy change? Because during his campaign, President Biden said he was going to end fossil fuels.
Well, look, I think the president has to face reality that we're going to need all diverse sources of energy, okay? I would say constituents that I represent and most Americans, they believe that we should be moving towards clean energy, but not to the exclusion of our traditional sources of energy, right? Oil, gas. We need to make sure that we have all types of energy available to the American people for both reliability, for cost, for affordability, right, and as well as our independence. And so, look, I was happy to hear that he acknowledged that we're going to continue to need those traditional sources. And I hope he backs that up with actual policy that will ramp up our domestic energy production and invest in key infrastructure like the Keystone pipeline to get it across the country. We are seeing record levels of high utility costs. Gas prices are still much higher than they were when this president took office. We see diesel fuel, which is a heating fuel in the Northeast, that is very much at its lowest rates in a long time. And so we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure there's a reliable and affordable energy for American families and their businesses, because they're getting hit the hardest.
Right. And speaking of high gas prices, I think President Biden yesterday actually indirectly blamed the oil producers for high gas prices, for their not investing in production. But Congresswoman, we know the Biden administration canceled oil drilling leases. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, they've sat on permits, they've sat on leases, they killed the Keystone Pipeline, which would have provided thousands of good-paying jobs. They have discouraged companies from expanding their operations and producing more energy because they fear that this is an anti-traditional energy administration that is just going to continue to hinder productivity and make it more difficult for us to use our natural resources here in this country. It's why we've seen this these prices skyrocket, is because of the anti-energy policies that have come out of this administration since day one. Remember, we didn't have this problem, right? We didn't have this problem before this president came along and put those executive orders in. So that just tells you everything you need to know. If this was really an issue because of the corporations, we would have been paying high gas prices all along. These gas prices, fuel prices, they are factored into food prices. That's one of the reasons why food costs are so high. You got to transport these goods using fuel. You have to refrigerate them using energy. And so that's why the American taxpayers paying so much now at the supermarkets, and of course when they receive their own utility bills, heating costs, electricity costs have all skyrocketed as a result of the policies of this administration.
And speaking of taxpayers, right, he said yesterday the tax system is not fair. Is that how you see it?
Well, I don't think the tax system is fair, but maybe not for the same reasons. I think that the tax system is not fair is because they're constantly squeezing money out of hardworking Americans to pay for a very mismanaged and bloated government. Look no further than my city of New York City, that is once again increasing property tax bills to pay for the housing of those who are in this country illegally. They are paying for the mismanagement of our city government that can't even keep New Yorkers safe. They are misplaced priorities. They have the biggest bloated budget, and the state as well. And so we're looking at now at the federal government. There is a $31 trillion debt that the taxpayers are on the hook for. And it is because they have misspent money. Today in Ways and Means, we had a hearing. $400 billion in unemployment fraud, $11 billion in the state of New York in fraudulent claims, by the way, that came from China, came from Russia, Nigeria, and of course domestically as well. People using those unemployment funds that they obtained fraudulently to purchase villas and mansions and charter jets and Rolls Royces and luxury goods. We need to get that money back for the taxpayers. It's a disgrace the way our tax dollars have been wasted. So let's respect the taxpayers, and then there won't be the need to increase taxes on anybody.
All right. Thank you very much, Congresswoman Malliotakis. Appreciate your time today.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.